Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com. We're delighted to be broadcasting with you this morning. We're in class high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. Mackenzie's engineering the broadcast in Minnesota at GCN. I'm Vincent Finelli. And if you'd like to call us, 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. And if you'd like to listen on the telephone, 605-477-3249. 605-477-3249. And please get out your paper and pens or pencil, and I'm going to give you a phone number to call in a little bit so that you'll be prepared to connect to Dr. Joel Wallach's Protocol and Order Hotline. Welcome, Dr. Joel Wallach.
Hey, good morning, Vincent. Good to talk to you, my brother.
Oh, it's always great to hear your voice. You know, I wanted to tell you that this morning, you know, we let the cats out for a little while, and they go and doing their hunting, and I never told you the name of one of our cats. His name is, well, we had 3 people in the family decided that they all had names and to consider. So we used all 3 of them. He's a black cat, so Inky is one of his names. Joel, after Dr. Joel Wallach, is another one of his names. And because he was a new kitty, so his name, when it's written officially, it's Inky Joel New Kitty. So I wanted to tell you that, and you know what? He has been modified, maybe broken is the word, so that he wouldn't make more kitties around the farm and the neighbors' farms. And he has developed he's fixed. He's got a urinary tract problem. And I'm wondering, is that something that happens when male cats are fixed?
Yeah.
Do they develop a
urinary infections goes up because everything kind of shrinks when the testosterone levels go away. And so it's not unusual for them to have urinary tract problems, you know, as an adult. It's quite common, actually. So is he a big cat or a little cat? What does he weigh?
He's a medium-sized cat. You know, he's not overweight, and he's not very thin. So I would say he's a normal weight cat.
So a 5-pound cat. And so, about 5. What I would do is give him a half a scoop of the Arthrodex, which is the crystal vitamin mineral for cats and dogs, and meat-eating critters of all kinds. Give him a half a scoop in his food every day. I would also give him a half a tablet of Zeratest, okay, because the adrenal glands in the liver can produce a little bit of testosterone, and so we want that, of course. So give him a half a tablet of Zeratest. You can grind that up and throw that in his food. Wouldn't hurt to give him a small scrambled egg every day, scrambled in butter, so he has the cholesterol, so his adrenal glands and liver can make the testosterone. And also, we have the good herbs. It's a tincture, it's a liquid, and we have one called kidney support, urinary tract support. And so what you want to do is get a bottle of that and give him kind of like a quarter of a dropper full in his mouth every day. You just drop in his mouth and hold his mouth shut. He'll swallow with a quarter of a dropper full of urinary tract support, and that'll go a long way towards resolving the problem. The nice thing about it also works.
That's great.
Well, on guys who have prostate problems, those kind of things too.
Okay. Now, since you mentioned prostate problems, what do you recommend for men who, as men get older, don't we all get the benefit of prostate problems?
No, it's not necessary. It comes on you when you're not getting enough nutrition to satisfy the needs of the prostate gland. The prostate gland requires all 90 essential nutrients. It has specific interest in certain minerals and things. And so for an adult human, I like to use one healthy brain and heart pack for the male, one healthy brain and heart pack per 100 pounds of body weight. So I weigh 152, so I take 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month, full dose everything twice a day. I also take the ProstFX as a capsule. I take 3 of those twice a day. The ProstFX is a blend of North American, African, and Asian herbs that support prostate function. And then I throw in the ProstFX again. The Zeratest. I take 2 of those twice a day. Zeratest. And I eat anywhere a minimum of 6 to 8 eggs a day, usually poached. In fact, I've got 4 poached eggs sitting in front of me right here, which I'm going to nibble on at break times. And so it gives you the cholesterol necessary to make testosterone. Testosterone is 95% by weight cholesterol, so you need the cholesterol so your body can make testosterone.
Okay.
There you go.
I noticed this morning we ran out of farm fresh eggs. We have chickens that run around and they convert bugs into eggs, and we ran out. So Mrs. Finelli went to the supermarket and picked up some white eggs, and she scrambled one for me lightly in butter, as you recommend. And I said, "What happened to the eggs? These are light yellow instead of yellow." And she said, "Yeah, they're from the store." Now, is there a difference in your opinion between store-bought eggs and those brown eggs that our chickens produce? That when the yolks are much darker on the farm fresh eggs. Is there a difference in nutrition?
There can be. It depends on what's in the soil and the farm that they're, working on, so to speak. And so you can get a crazy chicken in a cage laying eggs, and they'll have maybe more nutrition in it than, because they're getting alfalfa pellets with the vitamins and minerals added, than maybe a chicken running around out in the pasture, and they only have 7 minerals out there in the pasture, and they're getting all 60 in the alfalfa pellets in the cage where they're getting crazy. And so I'd rather eat an egg from a crazy chicken unless I'm giving them the minerals in either their water or their feed. If I'm giving them the minerals, then farm fresh eggs are going to always be more yellow because they're getting the beta carotene from the grass and hay and whatever else you're feeding them out there in the farm.
Okay. Well, we let them.
Are much.
Well, we spread wood ashes all over where the chickens are, and
that's why.
Yeah, and they eat worms, and they follow us. So if we are using some kind of equipment and we're going to move something, they immediately go running looking for worms. They eat all kinds of bugs. I mean, they actually have a job besides making eggs. They eat ticks and all kinds of little bugs, and so they're literally converting those bugs into and the grasses and the tomatoes into eggs. Okay, we've got truck driver Jay on the line in Nebraska this time. Welcome, truck driver Jay, USA Prepares Instructor. Welcome. There we go.
I'm with you.
Truck driver Jay, you're on with Dr. Joel Wallach, and you're in Nebraska at this moment, right?
Morning, sir.
Yes. Good morning, Dr. Wallach. I am also one of your distributors.
You seen any of the rain yet from Houston?
No, there's nothing here. It's
okay, good.
I'm also a longevity distributor, and I really believe in longevity. My question for Dr. Wallach is, I keep getting sent these links that I guess you're skeptics, the people that are, that don't want you to be real. What do I tell these people?
Oh, well, just remind them that I have a degree in agriculture, I have a degree in veterinary medicine, I'm a pathologist, and I'm a primary care physician since '78. And so I look at things differently. I do have a book in the Smithsonian Institute as National Treasure, represents 20,000 autopsies, and 10 million chemistries.
Right.
And it's in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. Now, has their physician done 20,000 autopsies? Do they have a book in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure? So they're going to listen to a doctor who kills many of his patients because he's drunk. Harvard Medical School in 1990 came out and said that 52% of licensed medical doctors, this is Harvard Medical School in 1990, 52% of licensed medical doctors on duty are intoxicated on alcohol, street drugs, and prescription drugs. And then 2 months ago, Johns Hopkins, very famous medical school in Baltimore, Maryland, came out with a study that said the third leading cause of death in America is medical doctors killing people in hospitals from simple mistakes. They kill 251,000 Americans in hospitals each year by simple mistakes to get a walk. And what would happen if Iran or North Korea were to send over an intercontinental ballistic missile with a terrible weapon and kill 251,000 Americans? It'd be a war. Here's one trade to get away with this every year, and they're saying that their doctor, who's probably killed more people than most serial killers, and I just love my doctor. He's so cute. He's such a nice guy. He belongs to my church. Where does the devil go to get sheep?
Because it goes to the pasture.
Yeah. So what you want to do is say, hey, look up Wallach, all the scientific papers he's written. He's got 75 scientific papers published in medical, veterinary, and scientific journals. He's got a 1,200-page book in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. He's done another study in China with his wife, Dr. Milan, 1,700 autopsies on kids under the age of 10 that died of cardiomyopathy heart attack. Nobody else has this experience and this training. It's not that I'm smarter than anybody else, but I said in 1971 that eating processed meat causes cancer. World Health Organization came out with that in 2015. They said a high-fat diet is better for you than a low-fat diet.
Right.
18 countries just came out and said that last week. I said it in 71.
Jay, thanks so much for your call. Jim Stewart, and he went to the same university as Dr. Joel Wallach and studied agriculture as well, and same period in time. Dr. Joel Wallach, tattoos. What are your opinions about tattoos? I see them everywhere, except in my family. Our children don't have any. My mom doesn't have any. My wife doesn't have any. I don't have any. And I've mentioned to our children that if they decide to get one, they will not be in the will. What are your thoughts? Am I out of order on this, or what are your thoughts? Did we lose Dr. Wallach?
I'm sorry?
Okay. I just didn't hear you. Did you hear my question?
Yeah, I did. And, of course, it's a form of jewelry. It's a form of a permanent adornment that people would, have somebody draw a flower on the side of their head or on their shoulder or something like that, or on a leg. It's also a good way to identify bodies. When your head's gone, and you have a tattoo on your shoulder. Oh, I know who that is. It's also an attractant to evildoers who want to kill you, to make lampshades out of your skin because you have tattoos on it. Makes great decoration on a lampshade. So there's all kinds of positive and negative reasons. But it's not a new thing. Tattoos go back thousands of years. So that's all I can say. They themselves don't cause any problems as far as cancer or anything like that. The ink has been developed over, again, thousands of years and so forth. So it's one of those deals where we know that it doesn't cause cancer. Tattoos don't cause cancer and that kind of stuff, whereas eating processed meat does.
Yeah, and I was just wondering about, your medical opinion with tattoos and furthering disease or encouraging diseases.
Yeah, they don't. They just don't.
Okay.
They don't further
because
disease, they don't protect disease.
Okay, because I'm seeing more and more of them everywhere I go on all ages. I used to just see them predominantly from men who were in World War II in the Navy, and they'd have an anchor tattooed on their left shoulder. And but now it's young people. I've even seen it on small children. And millennials
have their thing, like we had our thing, right?
Yep.
At any rate,
Okay.
I want to throw something in here about Houston. I think that's appropriate for the preparedness radio show here.
Yes.
I think we ought to say a word or two about Houston. And, here's a case that shows that you have to be prepared before there's an event. You can't say, okay, well, I know what to do. When some emergency comes, I'll run to the store and get something. No.
Yep.
You have to have everything on hand. And, of course, that's why we have the GOAT Foods 25-year shelf life, freeze-dried meals, complete meals, also gluten-free flours and stuff like that, so you can make your own gluten-free pancakes. We have the Reuben Jordan Beyond Organics. We have the Amasi liquid yogurt. We have the Avarte hard cheeses. We have the butter from grass-fed cattle that don't get any grain. They're grain-free cattle. We have butter from them also, from Jordan Reuben, very famous guy. Then, let's see here. We have colloidal silver. We have Killer Biotic. We have Pure Works to make sure that keep the infections down and make sure that you get a cut, that you don't get an infection. Soap and water is a big thing. Of course, we have all kinds of great Pure Works liquid soap, shower gel, shampoo, and spray, and soap. 90. You got to take the 90. Get our sports drink with 90 cents a nutrient, 100 nutrients. Sports drink rebound.
Okay. Dr. Joel Wallach and I'll be right back, and I'd like to talk more about Harvey's devastation as well, and what should you have on hand right now to prepare for the next one. And Jim in Cape Girardeau will be. Dr. Joel Wallach's with us. Jim in Cape Girardeau, welcome. You're on the air.
Hi, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll have to go quickly.
This connection dropped a minute ago while I wasn't there. As you stated, I know Doc for many years back in his reputation and took all the courses at the university he did, so I have a unique position in understanding what he's doing. But my question is, how do you compare his scientific background with what the normal drug company does now, testing people for getting a drug license? Why is it so much more important to be knowledgeable in what Doc, not Wallach, knows as compared to what they do? And also the new companies keep coming on with Doc Wallach with their lines because of the advantage of his ability to do good for people. And anything you want to say along those lines from the experts, which Doc Wallach definitely is from the experts' viewpoint, please do so.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the question. And, of course, the thing that differentiates what we do at Youngevity and what I do as a scientist and a physician is quite different than a pharmaceutical company. What we look for is the actual basic root cause of a problem. For instance, vitamin C deficiency causes scurvy. Vitamin D deficiency causes rickets. Vitamin B1 deficiency causes beriberi. Vitamin B3 deficiency causes pellagra. Vitamin B12 deficiency causes pernicious anemia. Iron deficiency causes iron deficiency anemia, and so on. Okay? Well, when you look at pharmaceuticals, the only pharmaceutical, category, the only pharmaceutical category, whether it's over-the-counter or prescription, that actually cures a disease is antibiotics. Antibiotics can cure syphilis, it can cure Lyme disease, it can cure bacterial pneumonia, they can cure salmonella. Bacterial diseases are easily killed with antibiotics, and they're prescription items for the most part. Well, when it comes to all the other diseases, all the other prescription drugs, all other prescription drugs just deal with the symptoms. They're specifically, proactively formulated to treat the symptoms so they can treat you for years and years and years and years. A pharmaceutical company may say they're looking for the cure, but they don't want the cure. They want to treat you for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They don't want to cure you in 2 weeks. And so that's the difference. Whereas nutritional deficiencies result in over 900 different diseases. And so what we've done, based on about $100 million worth of research on my own, mostly government grants, federal government grants, national health institutes, that kind of stuff, versus the pharmaceutical industry. They deal with big corporations, big pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer, Merck, those kind of places, that actually put up money to find drugs that relieve symptoms. In other words, let's say you have terrible arthritis, and arthritis is a simple nutritional deficiency disease. It's easily prevented and reversed. with a program of nutrition, but they will give you a pain reliever in 3 minutes. The pain is gone. Let's say an opioid, an oral opioid. The pain is gone in 3 minutes. I mean, you are happy. I mean, I've been in pain with arthritis for 20 years. In 3 minutes, it got rid of my pain. Well, the disease will continue to get worse, even though you're pain-free. And then in another 3 or 4 or 5 years, say, we got to do a double knee replacement, got to do a double hip replacement, and so on. Whereas you take the nutrients and support your body's ability through epigenetics to heal itself. Your body has the genes, DNA, RNA, telomeres that are built to rebuild and maintain cartilage and ligaments and tendons and connective tissue. But these things are no longer found in optimal amounts in our food, and some of them are just not found in the food at all. Same way with type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, we've known for 83 years, almost 83 years, is a deficiency of a single nutrient. And but they want to manage your blood sugar with insulin and pills and so forth for years and years and years. You get your toes amputated, your feet amputated, your legs amputated, you go blind, you get cardiovascular disease, then you die after 25 years of managing your diabetes. When you give your body the materials it needs, and you can get rid of it in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And that's the difference between pharmaceutical companies and what we do. Pharmacists are trained to count pills. Pharmacists don't make diagnoses. Pharmacists don't invent anything. Pharmacists just count pills. There's a prescription for an opioid. I need 90 pills. Okay, he counts out 90 pills and fulfills the prescription. And then, of course, in 2015, 52,000 Americans overdosed on opioids, prescription opioids. 52,000 Americans overdosed on opioids, prescription opioids. What would happen to street drug dealers if they were to kill 52,000 people with overdoses of street drugs? I mean, the FBI, the CDC, everybody, DEA, everybody out be there in force in the big cities, sweeping the neighborhoods, picking up all these drug dealers. And so the pharmaceutical industry is just that. It's an industry designed to count pills, sell pills. There's some scientists in university who got a grant from a pharmaceutical company found a way to do a product, a prescription drug that actually relieves pain or will manage blood sugar or will, again, improve your range of motion or reduce your blood pressure, that sort of thing. Well, what's the cause of the blood pressure? Plugged arteries is usually the cause of high blood pressure. You can have certain deficiencies, nutritional deficiencies cause high blood pressure. Why not take the nutrients and stop plugging your arteries, stop eating fried foods, and stop eating processed meats, and stop eating oils, and let your body heal itself on the 90 essential nutrients. And then you don't need bypass surgery and stents and heart transplants. When you follow the instructions of the pharmacy industry, you're just setting yourself up for the next event, which is usually more expensive and more dangerous. So I hope that answers the question, Jim.
Yeah, then to me that explains the difference between the nutritional helping the problem before it gets bad as to where most people wait until it gets bad enough they have to take the drugs.
Yeah, the same thing would work on a prayer list. Prayer lists don't work very well in churches, not because God isn't doing his part, but because the individual who's asked to be on the prayer list is not doing their part. Let's say they have diabetes. Okay, I'm on the prayer list at church, and I've got, our most faithful people in the church family praying for me every day, and they're still out eating all the sugar and fried foods and everything, and not checking their blood sugar every day and do what they're supposed to do to manage your blood sugar. They're not doing any of that because they're expecting God to jump in there and fix it. Well, faith without works is dead, and so we have to do our part. You got to get rid of the bad stuff that causes continuing and worsening damage, and you have to take the 90 essential nutrients, which is what's missing when you have diabetes. You take your nutrients, you stay away from the bad stuff, and guess what? The good Lord has put all the equipment in your body for your body to heal itself. But we have to do our part.
So if you have to take the 90 elements to correct the problem, why do you add the secret sauce then to the protocol?
Okay, well, the secret sauce is more of the particular nutrient that's necessary to deal with that particular disease. It's more of that particular nutrient. And we don't tell people what it is. We call it the secret sauce because if we tell them what it is, they run to the store and buy that nutrient. And it doesn't work very well without the other 89. So we want to take the all 90, and then when they have a particular health issue, they take the secret sauce for that particular health issue, which is the things that are missing. And this is where reading the books, Let's Play Doctor, Let's Play Herbal Doctor, Passport Aromatherapy, we call it the trilogy of books, covers 900 different diseases, teaches you how to use vitamins and minerals and trace minerals and rare earths, amino acids, fatty acids, herbs, and aromatherapy oils for those 900 different diseases. Again, the book's Let's Play Doctor, Let's Play Herbal Gut, and the Passport Aromatherapy. And don't forget the newest one, Epigenetics, covers the 900 different diseases. Well, all of the newest information, I mean, we're talking about billions of dollars worth of research went into writing and publishing that book. Not all mine, obviously, from big universities, medical schools, veterinary schools, agricultural schools, pharmacy schools, biochemistry departments, all over the world, and over $100 billion worth of research efforts. The information that was resulted from that $100 billion worth of research is in the book Epigenetics, added to my own information, and it's probably the most complete book on how to prevent and reverse nutritional deficiency diseases with nutrients. What a concept.
Good, thank you.
Okay, Jim?
Jim, thank you so much for your call. Dr. Wallach, you mentioned a couple of things that I'd like to tie together. One of them is the hurricane in Texas. And the other one is, well, this hurricane has caused 19 trillion gallons of polluted mud, water, brown water, which has all kinds of toxins in it. And that plus the comment that you made about, prepare ahead of time, I wrote down before the broadcast ICE, in case of emergency. What is the number one supplement that you recommend, if there is just one, that you would recommend that we have in our homes, just in case of an emergency? Now, I take your supplements, and I think we should have them anyway. But for those who are just saying, I'm just going to have one just in case, do you have a recommendation? Is it beyond Tangy Tangerine?
Well, I like the 90 essential nutrients, okay? Well, you need them all. You can't cherry pick. That's a mistake that medical doctors make. That's a mistake that the average person makes. They cherry pick. Well, I read a lot about vitamin C, so I'm going to supplement with vitamin C. What about the other 89? They're all required for optimal health and life. And when you're in a situation like Hurricane Harvey in the Gulf Coast, I mean, we're talking not only all this nasty stuff you were talking about in the water and mud and slime, but also just the stress of everything going on. Just taking one is not going to cut it. You need to be on this stuff before something bad happens, and you need to have, in my house, we have a 3-month supply of everything. And as we use it, we're on auto ship to replace what we use, so we're always filling up behind. It's that first in, first out thing. We keep using it, and we keep filling in behind on auto ship. We don't even have to pay shipping when you're on auto ship. The company pays the shipping. And I have to buy my own supplements. The company doesn't give them to me, even though I'm the founder of the company. We set it up so the company doesn't give me the supplements. We have to pay for them. And we keep a 3-month supply. But also things like our Rebound or sports drink it has, obviously fluid replacement, but it also has 100 nutrients. Gatorade has 2. Gatorade has 2. Powerade has 6, and our Rebound has 100. But don't forget the Healthy Start Pack. The Healthy Start Pack, which is a 90. 1 per 100 pounds of body weight. To be 100% when there's an emergency, not 10%.
When we come back, can we talk about your colloidal silver recommendations for lung infections and pneumonia, which you mentioned? We'll be right back. Dr. Joel Wallach. And one of the bacteria that it can carry with it is Pseudomonas, which is a bacteria that can cause lung infections. And you talked about curing that, or treating that. What do you recommend? Spraying colloidal silver right into the lungs, taking colloidal silver orally, or what other treatments with your supplements do you recommend?
Okay. Again, the immune system is your best friend when you have infections or cancer, degenerative diseases. Your immune system makes things work. Your body defends itself with antibodies against bacteria and viruses and fungus and all that kind of stuff. And so you want to take your 90 essential nutrients. You got to give your basic defense system everything it needs. You can't leave the Army out when you have a war. You have to have the Army, the Marines, the Air Force, the Navy, and so forth. And the same thing is true with defending against an infection, whether it's a lung infection, an intestinal infection, a skin infection, bowel infection, doesn't matter. But I like the PureWorks, the spray, the foam, the soap, and the lotion, all of which works to kill bugs, bacteria, viruses, fungus, and yeast, even 3 to 5 hours after it dries, whereas the alcohol, the skin disinfectants only work while it's wet, like 20 seconds. So that's the difference. And then you throw in the colloidal silver. We just love our Envision colloidal silver. You can put a dropper full in a couple ounces of water and gargle with it. You never just swallow. You gargle with it, get your upper respiratory stuff going. You can put it in a little spray bottle and spray it up your nose if you have sinus infections. You can tilt your head back and spray your face and inhale it. And you get the little spray droplets down in your trachea into your lungs. You can kill bacteria and viruses and fungus and yeast. But don't forget the killer biotic. It's 8 herbs which support the immune system, 2 which also have antimicrobial properties and kill bacteria, viruses, fungus, and yeast. So it's kind of you have to come at this from multi-different directions, but the basic thing to support everything, including the immune system and your ability to support and maintain and repair stuff, is your 90 essential nutrients. You can have the best antibiotics in the world, and if you're not taking what you need to have your own immune system participate, you're not going to be very efficient in saving yourself. And so, I mean, we deal with this all the time. We've had one pastor in Baltimore, Maryland. He had a big lung infection, had lung disease going through Baltimore, Maryland. They had 17 people in the same ward. Of course, our gal up there was sneaking our products into the pastor. He was the only one out of 17 in that ward to survive. Everybody else got the same exact treatment, the same prescription antibiotics intravenously, and they all died except him. And the only difference was he was getting our stuff in addition under the table the doctors didn't know about. And they still scratching their heads why he survived and everybody else died. Okay, so that makes a difference. And the nice thing about colloidal silver, the shelf life is 72 million years. It'll never go bad.
And can you tell us what what those supplements that you snuck in or had snuck in for this patient were?
The Healthy Start Pack, okay, and then also we snuck in the Z Radical that has 3 super juices and fucoid in it, supports the immune system again, and then of course the Killer Biotic, which has 8 herbs which support the immune system, 2 of which have antimicrobial properties, the Killer Biotic and the Envision colloidal silver. And he took all those things 3 times a day. He's a big fella, took those things 3 times a day, and used the Pure Works on the outside, all over his skin, because the nurses are touching these other dirty people who are dying from these bugs and touching him. Yeah. So he had to disinfect his outside with the Pure Works spray.
Mm-hmm. How about Flora FX, one of your products?
Oh, Flora FX is wonderful. It's a normal probiotic. And of course, you want to, I take our probiotic, the Flora FX, the triple treat chocolate, our root beer belly, all of which has the probiotics in it. I take 2 or 3 servings of that a day. Keep sure that the good bacteria are in my intestinal system and they crowd out the bad guys. So it's a constant thing. It's not just, I take colloidal silver when I'm sick. No, you got to do all this stuff before you get this.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. Live in Australia, Guineith Isaacs. Welcome, Guineith.
Hello, Vincent. How are you this morning?
Is it 1 a.m. in Australia?
It's just after 1 a.m., yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's we're actually heading into spring here. So we've got the daffodils doing their thing on the farm, and that's really, really pretty.
Yeah.
It's a nice time of year, and the days aren't quite so short, and the temperature is starting to warm up. But anyway, what I need to talk about today, I was going to talk about the police and the reason why they should be nice to us. But first of all, I think I was talking with you about this earlier. The nuclear power plant that is in Texas. I actually went on the internet and looked at the path of looked at Harvey's path, and guess what Harvey did? Just imagine that this nuclear power plant was some poor fool who was caught in the middle of a streetcar war, and they were the enemy in the streetcar war, and the bad guy in the streetcar sort of backed up ran him over and then, reversed over him and then went forward and then reversed and then forward and then reversed because he is the enemy, you know what I mean? And then drove off. That's more or less what Harvey did to this nuclear power plant. And it might have dumped 50 or 80 inches of rain on this facility that was designed to maybe take 24 or 28 inches of rain. And that's not good news. And it's absolutely not being reported anywhere that I know of, except for a few alternative news sites that specialize in environmental and nuclear things, issues. There's a guy on YouTube who's done rather a good report on it, although it's quite long. His name is called Beautiful Girl by Dana, okay? And the fellow's name is Dana Durnford, Dana Durnford. And he's also done. He started out doing reports on the BP Gulf of Mexico oil spill, and then he moved to Fukushima, and now he's got a new topic for discussion. It seems. He still probably does his Fukushima updates, but he's very good. He's very entertaining. He's Irish. And in Ireland, Dana is actually also sometimes a man's name. And so he's got a very cute accent, but he does his reports and he sounds just like this. And, but the thing is, he's comic, but the information, he's comic about something that's absolutely serious. And maybe it helps for people to cope with it. Maybe it helps to get it through. But, if you could go and check his YouTube channel, Beautiful Girl by Dana, all one word, then if you need more updates, that's the place to go to get them. There's other places as well. I was going to send you some links earlier via the email, but the electricity went off. That was the end of that. Anyway, there we go. It's super, super sad, super, super tragic. It's like I said, it's like this nuclear power plant has possibly been murdered by Harvey, and I've run out of words here to say about it. It's just I really
and
hope.
Some people think that Harvey was man-made, engineered to wreak havoc, we have one of the major pipelines that runs to the northeast from Texas. A Colonial Pipeline was shut down, and so what does that mean? That means limited gas and diesel. And one of the things I wanted to mention to our class was, you might want to tank up because we don't know. We really don't know the extent of this. And what I can tell you is in the 1970s, here in this country, there was an Arab oil embargo. And withdrawn from the market was about 5% of the oil, FIVE percent. When that happened, it caused panic and outages all over. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about, and it's hard to imagine, for those of you who are young, it's hard to imagine not being able to go to a gas station and buy gasoline or diesel. Well, the federal government imposed restrictions. They came to the rescue to make everybody safe. And if you had, and so did the states, and where I was, it was odd and even license plate purchasing of gasoline. So if the last digit of your license plate was an odd number, well, you could buy gasoline only on odd numbered days, like the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th of the month, that kind of thing. And the gas stations would sell you about $3 worth. And people would line up around the block starting at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was dark. They'd line up so that they could buy gasoline at 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning when the stations open. And the stations would be open for an hour or two. And that was it. That was it. And if you were a medical doctor, you had an exemption. You could get the gas you needed. Many government employees got all the gas they needed because they're important to keep us all safe. And I'm not just talking about the police. I'm talking about all kinds of government employees so they could get to work. But the rest of us, the bottom 93%, were forced to abide by these rationing decisions made by the governments. And there was one kind of way around it, and that was if you needed a tune-up on your car, and I'm talking about a gas station that would have a couple pumps out front, maybe 4 pumps for gasoline and diesel, and a couple bays to service and tune-up cars. I'm talking about in the 1970s. And if you needed a tune-up, well, they put your car up on the lift and look under it and look under the hood and replace the spark plugs, points, condenser, and that kind of stuff. Air filter. Maybe change the oil. And just to make sure that the car ran well, they'd fill it up with maybe a half or a full tank of fuel and charge you for that, of course. And so you could get your gasoline by buying a tune-up. And that's kind of how it worked. And that was a miserable thing to live through. Because if you had to commute to work, man, it was tough. It was really tough. But, you know, Americans were resourceful back then, and they would carpool and they'd work it out. And those who had Volkswagen Bugs or Beetles, you know, those 4-cylinder air-cooled 30-mile-per-gallon Volkswagens, well, they were on top of the world because it didn't take much fuel to get them to run a long distance. So people were trading their brand new Cadillacs, which, you know, these were land yachts. They would get about 10 miles per gallon. And there was very little need for anyone to have a land yacht because you couldn't put fuel in it, because you couldn't get more than $3 worth every other day. So it didn't work. So people were trading their land yacht Cadillacs for old Volkswagens.
Toyotas and Volkswagens.
Yeah. Mostly Volkswagens, because they had been in the United States, you know, the longest. We're talking about the 1970s. And what I've seen recently here in Missouri, gasoline prices are up about 10% as of yesterday. Diesel prices are up about 15%. And I talked to, you know, I had a little family meeting for the last couple of days, you know, around the kitchen table. And I talked about Harvey. And my son said, what do you think is going to happen? Now, my son is a degreed farmer. And he's gone through the university, and he's learned about farming and agriculture and animals and so forth, and a little bit of economics mixed in. And he said, Dad, what do you think is going to happen? And so I told him the story that I just told about the gasoline rationing. So 5% withdrawn from the market, gasoline and diesel, caused this panic. And it was really pretty serious. Commerce was down. And so what does this mean to our family? So our son said, you know, Dad, should we be getting some supplies that we might get, you know, later on? And I asked him what we were talking about. And he talked about supplies for the cattle. I said, absolutely. Absolutely. I said, prices are sticky downward. And that's an economic concept. So, you know, it's easy for prices to go up, but they're sticky on the way down. So when a gas company or a gas station chain or just a single gas station finds it raising its prices, kind of likes them at a higher price and doesn't like bringing them down too quickly. So if you notice, class, the gas stations that have those electronic signs and electronic controlled gas pumps that are controlled, pricing is controlled from inside the station, well, they go up really quickly. Those guys are paying attention to the news. It's the independents, the one-of-a-kind gas stations that are scattered throughout the countryside that are a little slower to raise their prices. And it's absolutely true. So we found that gas prices were higher in Lebanon, Missouri. They're higher in Springfield, Missouri. And in our little hamlet of the world, gas prices were unchanged. They were higher to begin with, but now they're lower because they haven't raised the prices. So, class, I just went to gasbuddy.com, looked at Missouri gas prices. Lowest price around our neck of the woods in Springfield, Missouri is $2.25 for the regular, unleaded regular. Well, a couple days ago, 2 days ago, it was $2.08. How do I know? I was there. Now, there's Sam's Club is the lowest price gas in Springfield, according to Gas Buddy. From there, it goes to $2.29, $2.35, $2.29 and $2.35. Flying J is at $2.37. And I'm just looking. Okay, so of the lowest gas prices, $2.25 is the lowest. The highest in the low price category is $2.37 at Casey's and Conoco and Come and Go and Phillips 66. So the bottom line is gas prices have gone up about 10% in a day or two. And I would expect that, my guess is that they're going to continue going up because a refinery, very large, country's largest refinery in Texas, shut down. And I also think everything else is going to go up. And this is just my take on it. When we had Hurricane Hugo, boy, plywood shot up. I mean, the reconstruction effort. So what's needed when you have a massive reconstruction effort? Everything. Wire, cable, electrical items, for rebuilding, boxes, circuit board panels, diesel fuel, gasoline, wood products, shingles, pipe, plumbing. Everything you could possibly think of is going to be needed in this rebuilding effort. And then you're going to see things like sanitation problems as the dead bodies are found, and they can be cats and dogs and domestic animals as well as farm animals. And then you've got the problem of all these toxins. There's 19 trillion gallons of water that is looking to run downhill and underground.
Treatment plant.
So you've got this toxic soup. Yeah. You've got this
Nuclear
toxic
radiation,
soup. And what is it? Well,
fossil
it's
fuels,
yes.
so-called.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh my God.
And it's running downhill.
Bad. Running downhill. And of course,
and let me.
Yeah, not the Gulf of Mexico. The other side is going to get killed this time. Not the Gulf side, huh? Because is Texas on the Gulf side or is it on the other side? Excuse my lack of geography.
Yeah, it's going to go into the Gulf of Mexico.
Again.
And well, here's the way I see it. Water all runs downhill. It's gravity, and it works 24/7, 365. So the guys who have that live in neighborhoods, for example, if you get that half an acre, third of an acre, 1 acre, whatever they have, they've got in their garage, they've got some insecticides, they've got some Sevin and some tree and shrub insecticides, and they've got some ant and roach killer, and they've got the hornet sprays. They've got, on their shelf in the garage. Then they have their gas cans, for their lawnmowers. And they've got their oil. And then they've got, some carburetor cleaner and whatever other cans of stuff that they've bought to maintain their internal combustion engines and keep the bugs away. And then they've got, their Roundup. And then they've got their weed and feed fertilizers, right? So they've got all this in the garage. And then the rains come and sweep away this stuff, and it's all going downhill. And then
there's the guy
containers
next door who's got the same in his shed, and his shed, and his shed, all the way up the hill.
That's right. That's right. So you've got neighborhood after neighborhood, block after block of this, and it's all floating downhill. The canisters break open. Then you have the cross-connecting. At the lowest point in many municipalities is the water treatment plant. Why? Because, gravity's working 24/7, and when you flush the toilet and you pour something down the sink drain, it just runs downhill and ultimately goes into the water treatment plant. Well, the water treatment plant's flooded. So now all of that toxic soup is mixed with all the other toxic soup. And what about the water supply? Where do we get our water from? We get it from wells. We get it from rivers. We get it from lakes.
They're going to be flooded out.
And we treat it, but they're probably flooded out. So now what do we do? That's a big problem. We'll be right back. So Colonial Pipeline, which carries a large amount of gasoline and other fuels between Houston, Texas, and the East Coast, was shut down. And the information that I've been reading says that while gasoline prices gained 6%, went up 6% on Wednesday. Well, I think they went up more than that. And the articles that I'm reading say that, well, it's just temporary, and within a couple weeks, the prices are expected to come back down to earlier levels. Well, as I mentioned, prices are sticky downward. Okay, and there's going to be a need to buy everything, because think of all the medicines, just medicine. So all these people who are on prescription drugs, on average, they have about a 2-week supply. Well, how many of those medicines were damaged in the flood? How many of those medicines floated downhill? Well, a lot. So just think about how much, if you have an average between an empty pill vial and a full pill vial of 30 days, you have roughly 2 weeks on average in that pill vial. Well, 2 weeks worth is, for those who are affected by Harvey, probably running downhill. So now all that needs to be replaced. And then the roofs and the insulation, the plumbing and the heating and the air conditioning. So, if you've got an air conditioning unit that's not working so well, you think, well, I ought to get it fixed now because winter's coming. Well, all these people in Texas who need new heating systems are going to put an increased demand on the supply for those units. And we've got a wonderful just-in-time inventory system. So now I would expect dramatic price increases on those kinds of things, the reconstruction effort items. That's the way I see it. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Guineith, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, it's like this. Just-in-time delivery is always going to be a disaster in a circumstance like this.
Mm-hmm.
No one's got any spare anything. Okay?
Yeah.
It's always the case when a disaster like this happens. You get a few days in and, or a week or 2 weeks in, and everybody says, oh, well, everybody's accounted for or not, and we can assume the people who are not accounted for have probably died. And so, that's going to be the death toll. No. That's not the final death toll at all, because you're going to get people who are going to die because they can't get their medication. And the way that the pharmaceutical system is set up, I guess it's probably the same in the US as what it is here. It's impossible for the ordinary person to stock up on their medication, right? You can only have a month's supply of XYZ drug that's actually keeping you alive. So you have to go back and see your doctor every month.
Yep.
And
it's the insurance companies who have done the insurance companies. It's the insurance companies that have done this.
Yeah, it's going to, and speaking of insurance companies of a different kind, that's another disaster that is looming. Oh my God, 5 million households. I don't know how many of those insurance policies will have act of God clauses in them, although it's probably more act of the deep state on this one, as we mentioned earlier. But, insurance companies are not going to be able to tell the difference, are they? A lot of
I'm looking at this guy.
Yeah, a lot of the policies are
looking
going
at this guy.
to not be valid because of act of God clauses.
Right. There's a guy standing in his kitchen.
Yeah.
He's got fishing waders on. So, he's got boots up to I guess to his belt. He's standing in his kitchen in this gray water.
Catching catfish.
And he's looking he's looking around, and here's what's underwater: his refrigerator, his dishwasher. Now his cabinets are really nice and they're white and they look relatively new, but that means that they're swollen. The cabinet wood is swollen. It probably has particle board in it, which is, you're not going to be able to dry that out and have it survive in the same dimensions as it was before it got wet. So now he's got these upper cabinets which are above the water line, but the lower cabinets are in the water line. So he needs a new stove, a new refrigerator, a new dishwasher, new lower cabinets. But he's not going to be able to get cabinets that match unless they're custom made. So he's going to have to buy a new kitchen. Well, he's probably going to have to rip out all the sheetrock too and the insulation. It's an absolute mess.
In other words, because that's just the kitchen. It's not even the bathroom. It's not the bedrooms or anything like that.
Right. And the mattresses are at a lower level than the water line.
Brown mark about 1 meter high up all around the walls.
That's right. That's right. And it's absolutely tragic. So my recommendation, if you need something, you ought to get it now while you still can get it now, because I believe prices on everything are going to go up. When I was building our house, I was able to buy 1,000-foot roll of wire, Romex wire, 12 gauge, 2 conductors with a ground. So it's 12-2 with ground, the yellow stuff, 1,000 feet. I think it was $187. And I called Lowe's and I said, I'd like to buy some wire. Do you have it in stock? And they said, yeah. And I said, how much? And they said, $187. I said, okay, I'm on my way. It'll take me an hour to get there. I want you to hold. I'm going to pay you for it now. I said, no, I'll mark it sold. I'd like 7 rolls of it because I thought I'd need 7,000 feet to build our house in Missouri. By the time I got there, he said, what's the deal with wire? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, it's gone up to close to $400 since you called per roll.
What?
Yes. Because there was a storm at that time, and it caused a shortage of everything. Plywood, OSB, oriented strand board, went from $7.97 a sheet to $21, $22, $23, $24 a sheet. 2x4s went up. Everything skyrocketed virtually overnight.
Within 1 hour.
We were contracting to build our house. And we needed everything. Same thing that everyone else needed. Except we weren't in the storm area. Well, fortunately for us, I met with the CEO of the building supply company. It was an independent. It was not Lowe's or Home Depot or one of those guys. And I said, I'd like to buy everything from you, but here's what I need. I need a price lock on everything with a guarantee there will be no increases in prices. And what happened was I was on the top of the news a little bit more than the CEO was. He said, okay, we'll do that. And so I was buying 2x4s at the old prices before they went up, 2 and 3 times in price. So it really pays to pay attention to what's happening. So the word to the wise is if you need it. I'm not talking about if you want it. I'm saying if you need it, you ought to get it before the price goes up. Now, prices will come down. They will. How much they go up, I don't know. But I can tell you this, that our family is getting the things that we need, that we could wait till, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get. We're getting them now because we think that things like dog food are going to go up in price. Cat food's going to go up in price. Now, it's not like it's a large amount of money. But if you ask our dogs and our cats, you think it's important, they'll tell you absolutely. Absolutely it's important. Yeah. What would you do without dog food if you have that, that beloved dog? What would you do? Would you teach him to go and hunt? And what would he hunt? Bottom line?
Around here, I'd be out on my horse and out on my electric tricycle that's powered by solar batteries. To start with, I'd be looking for roadkill, but so would probably everybody else in the know. And then I would take the sheepdog that we have that's chained up, who's probably a little bit more inclined to go after things than the other sheepdogs. But I keep him because he's a good stud, and because I think, well, I might need him for a hunting dog one day. And I would take my greyhound and I would go into the state park and I would go hunting. And it wouldn't take long for the greyhound, who is blooded, to teach the other dog what to do, you know, because that's how it works. And and they would, between them, probably get enough food to feed me, to feed my children, and to feed, the rest of their pack mates, the other dogs. That's what we personally would probably do. And I would go there and I would probably have my bow and arrow with me and a really, really sharp knife. And, you are entitled, the state park is populated with feral goats, and anyone is allowed to go into the state park and hunt. The only thing is that they ask that you be respectful where you discharge firearms or other projectile firing devices, and that you be respectful with how you treat the game once you have killed it, that you don't leave, piles of entrails everywhere and all this sort of thing, and that you cover the game when you're taking it home, and that you don't leave, dead animals by the side of the track. And that's just common sense, and that's respectful. And that sort of rule I'm absolutely happy to keep by.
What would you like to talk about when we come back from the bottom, from this break?
Probably I would like to get into police corruption.
There you go. We'll be right back.
Hello. I don't think I can hear Vincent anywhere, so I'm just going to step in. Hello?
How about now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Great.
I didn't know where you
want
were.
to talk?
I sort of heard some dead air, and I thought, I better step in, say something.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about the cops, and corruption?
Yeah, I would love to. Yep.
Okay.
How the deep state operates. Okay, they operate more or less along fascist or communist lines, and at the moment we've got the rampage of the brown shirts, which is kind of falling a little bit flat in America because basically these tactics always fall flat. Where you've got a generally Christian community where people actually care about each other, because, the divide and conquer thing just doesn't work under such circumstances, because people actually do not hate each other. But you know what? It doesn't change the fact that they're operating according to, the deep state, that is operating according to communist playbooks. They're telling the blue team what to do, and they're telling them what to do according to a communist playbook that goes back at least probably 200 to 300 years, okay? It's the same thing every single time. And where I originally learnt this information was my dear old dad, who I think I've mentioned on the broadcast before. He was an old-school trade union-type socialist, which means that he believed that if the employer didn't put guards on the machine, that it was perfectly justifiable to call a strike. And, that people ought to have... They called it in Australia the 3/8, okay? 8 hours work, 8 hours play, 8 hours sleep. That's a 24-hour day. And they would have, industrial campaigns to make sure that the employees were not forced to work 12, 14 and 16-hour days, where they would never see their families and that they'd, die early. But the police have to recognise that they're being played for fools, because under this playbook, they get whoever it is, whether it's the soldiers, the police, or whoever happens to be the one carrying the gun and supposed to be enforcing criminal laws, they get them to put in their dictatorial, fascistic, communistic system. And when the system is fully put in place, guess whose head is sometimes even literally on the chopping block? They have what are called pogroms, okay? And that means that when they have got the local law enforcement to do all their dirty work and get rid of most of their opposition, so they think, they go, the people who really have the power, who are just using the law enforcement as a tool, they go in and they clean house. And they make these officers disappear. They either, most commonly, the officers actually end up dead. This is what I say when I say, the law enforcement, I'm the least of their worries. The people who they should really be worried about on a personal level is the people who are actually giving them their orders, because they're operating according to a communist playbook, and communist playbooks always end in pogroms and purges. And it's usually the purges of the people who are giving the orders, who are receiving the orders to enforce the unjust laws. They're the first to go.
Interesting question, though. Why is it that the cops have locks on their lockers?